All right, let's be honest. If you've ever tried to build a website with Python, you've probably ended up with this tangled mess of HTML strings, right? It's a super common trap. Well, today, we're going to untangle that mess for good. We're talking about Flask and its awesome templating engine, Jinja. So let's dive right in.
First up, let's talk about the old way of doing things. You know, that moment when your Python script needs to just spit out some HTML? Seems easy enough at first, right? But yeah, this is usually where the trouble starts.
I mean, have you ever actually done this? Tried to just mash together a bunch of HTML tags and your Python variables into one giant string? If you're nodding right now, you know exactly the headache I'm talking about. It seems so simple, but man, it spirals into a total maintenance nightmare fast. And this right here, this pretty much captures the chaos perfectly. You end up with this Frankenstein's monster of code. It's just a jumble of strings and plus signs and variables. It's a nightmare to read, it's a pain to debug, and oh my gosh, forget about trying to change the site's layout later. You'd have to be a full-on code detective just to find the right div.
Okay, thankfully, there is a much, much better way, and its name is Jinja. It's this modern and honestly brilliant templating engine that works beautifully with Flask to solve this exact problem. It finally lets us break our code's logic and its presentation out of that shared prison cell. So what even is a templating engine? Well, the best way to think about it is like a mail merge, but for your website. You know where you have a letter template and a spreadsheet of names? Same idea. You create your HTML file as a template, leaving these little placeholders for all your dynamic content. Then you have your data, maybe a list of users from your database. The engine's job is just to take that template and that data and smash them together, generating the final, perfect page. And this is the key takeaway. The whole reason we do this, it's what we call a separation of concerns. Your Python code, that's the brains of the operation. It just focuses on the logic, on getting the data. And then your HTML template, that's the face of your website. It only cares about how things look. This separation, it keeps everything organized, readable, and just so much easier to work with. Okay, so we've got our brains and our face. They're in separate files, they're living happily apart. So how do we actually get them to talk to each other? How does the data from Python actually get into the HTML? Well, it all comes down to one magic word, or, well, function, provided by Flask, render template. Think of this function as the bridge. It's the thing that connects your Python logic to your HTML template and lets you pass data back and forth totally seamlessly. Let's actually look at the code here. So inside our Flask route, instead of returning that big ugly string of HTML, we just return render template. Simple. We tell it the name of our HTML file, in this case index.html. And by the way, Flask is smart. It automatically looks for this in a folder called templates. Then we can just pass in whatever data we want. See that? A equals hello? We're creating a variable named A and giving it the value hello to use in our template. Okay, so we've sent the data over to the template. Now for the fun part. Let's see how we actually use that data to bring our HTML to life. This is where Jinja's syntax, which is super simple but also really powerful, just starts to shine. Remember that A variable we passed in? To get its value to show up on the page, all you do is wrap it in these double curly braces. That's it. When Jinja processes the file, it sees double set A, double set, and just, poof, replaces it with the value, which was hello. Seriously, that's it. So clean.
So displaying one variable is great. It's a perfect start. But what happens when you have a whole list of things to show? You know, like a list of blog posts or search results or products on a store page? You're not going to do that one by one, right?
Of course not. For that, Jinja gives us control structures, like a good old for loop. Now, notice the syntax is a little different. It's curly braces with percent signs. That's your signal to Jinja that you're about to do some logic. So you start the loop, then inside it, you can access the data from each item, using those double curly braces we just learned. And then, and this is super important, you have to close the loop with an endfor tag. Honestly, what we've just covered is already a total game changer, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. Jinja has so many more features that let you build really big, complex, but still super maintainable websites. So let me give you a peek at one of its most powerful features, something called template inheritance, using the keyword extends. Just imagine you create one base layout for your whole site. It's got your header,
your navigation, your footer, all the stuff that's the same on every page. Then, for every other page, you just say, hey, extend that base layout, and you only have to write the little bit of content that's unique. It is an unbelievably efficient way to keep your site consistent and follow that golden rule of coding. Don't repeat yourself. So let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Using Jinja with Flask gives you clean code. Why? Because you're separating your Python logic from your HTML presentation. That leads to easy maintenance. You can change the whole look of your site without ever touching the Python code. You get dynamic content using variables and lists. And you get powerful logic with loops and conditionals right inside your HTML. It's a win all around. And look, the source material we're drawing from is clear about this. We've really only scratched the surface today. Jinja is a seriously powerful library. It's packed with all sorts of advanced tools, like filters that can format your data right in the template, or macros that let you create reusable chunks of HTML, almost like your own custom functions. But that next level of power, as the source says, that's another story for another day. The foundation we've covered here, though, that is everything you need to start building cleaner, smarter, and way more dynamic websites with Python and Flask. So the only real question is, what are you going to build first?